Good evening. I'm going to open the Tuesday, July 7th meeting of the Meridian City Council. Welcome all of you to the meeting. Glad to have you, and hope you enjoy the air conditioning. It's a lot nicer in here than it is outside. I'll start this evening with roll call. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Councilmember Kavanagh.
Here.
Councilmember Byrd.
Here.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Here.
Councilmember Borton.
Here.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Here.
And Councilmembers Milam and Mayor DeVeert are absent.
If you'd all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would join us in the community invocation. Will be led this evening by Larry Woodard from the 10 Mile Christian Church. Larry, welcome this evening. Glad you're here.
What you do, run off the female side of this council?
You know, I hadn't thought about that, but you must be right.
Well, let's pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, you have blessed this council and its mayor with wisdom and leadership skills, and it's reflected in our beautiful and safe city. As we celebrated our nation's independence a few days ago, it also reminded us of our dependence on you. I pray tonight that you continue to keep us safe, especially our children. Tonight I also want to pray for those who work for the city, who come each day to fulfill tasks that no one else can do, from answering questions about legal forms to reviewing plans to questions about policing or fire safety. I thank you for the clerks who have children at home and come every day to do their jobs, keep them and their families safe. Tonight I pray for the items on the agenda. To a casual visitor, they may not look like much, but to some it may reflect their life's goals. I pray for sound judgment as plans are reviewed. The city is also doing budgeting, and I pray that they will ponder the best allocation of funds. On the 4th of July, my family and I observed more fireworks driving home after the city fireworks at the racetrack than we had seen in our over 20 years in Meridian. It was beautiful, but we wondered if the people of our city was in effect saying, we're Americans and we're proud of it. Our beliefs that have carried us this far will not be taken from us. Our forefathers on July 4th, 1776, stepped out on a balcony and watched fireworks when they declared themselves free from Great Britain. And I sense that same independent streak is alive and well in Meridian. I pray that you will safeguard our emergency personnel. I cannot imagine a wife or husband sending their spouse out each day to be the first on the scene of a crime, a wreck, or a fire. May they be comforted when they hug and say goodbye each day. We are blessed with a city that is led by this council and how well they work together. I pray that this common respect for one another continues. The face of our city is changing, with more apartments and fewer single-family homes. Help us as a people to adjust to this fundamental change in our city. Lord, strengthen us when we feel weak, and give us resolve when we're uncertain in our thinking. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Larry.
You bet.
Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. President,
Mr. Byrd.
on our agenda, on item number under the consent 5Q, we'd like to pull that for some explanation to 7Q. Under 8G, that has been requested to be moved to July 21st, which we'll take care of at the proper time. And also 8H has been asked to be removed to July 21st. Under 9A, the resolution number is 15-1074. Item 9B, the resolution number is 15-1075. And the, beg your pardon? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed them. Go back to the consent agenda. BB is resolution number 15-1072, and CC is 15-1073. Under 10A, the ordinance number is 15-1649. And on 10B, the ordinance is 15-1650, and that has been changed to be 43.2 acres from RUT to R8 and 35.4 acres from RUT to CN. And the city attorney will explain that when we get ready to read it. And also under 10C, the ordinance number is 15-1651. With that changes, I would move we approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor of the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Very good. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Mr. President,
Mr. Byrd.
the consent agenda, as noted before, item Q is pulled to 7Q. The resolutions for BB and CC were 15-1072 and 15-1073, and with that, I move we approve the consent agenda and for the president to sign and clerk to attest.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
On the agenda is a community presentation and the Solid Waste Advisory Commission. And Steve, you're here to do that, I'll bet. Good to see you.
Mr. President, members of the City Council, thank you for this opportunity. I bring you greetings from the Solid Waste Advisory Commission, and I bring before you specifically a request for funding. SWAC has approved this request and recommends your approval. The request is from Parks and Recreation to provide a bench to be placed in the entrance area to the dog park portion of Story Park. SWAC has reviewed the request and determined that it is consistent with the goals of the Community Recycling Fund, and it provides visibility to the fund and should help us in the continued work with that fund. You have the copy of the package requesting funding for this in front of you, so I won't go into details on it. But I do report to you that SWAC gives a due pass recommendation on this, and I and Mike Barton from Parks and Recreation would stand for questions on the request if you have any. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Any questions for Steve? I just had one question. So the recycle fund is solvent?
Well, we
sort
still
of.
have from when times were good about $1,150, and this will spend $1,000 of that. So we are suffering at this point from numerous reasons why recycling is not bringing funding in, including the current work slowdown at the ports on the West Coast, and our good senator is working on that issue. So hopefully we can get things back into a good position.
Very good. Thank you. Any further questions?
I have
Do I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Burden.
I would move we approve the SWAC committee project for recycling funds for the park bench and the Story Dog Park.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 6A. Roll call. Lost the city clerk.
Call it.
I'll call roll. Mr. Cavanagh. Mr. Byrd.
Aye.
Mr. Borton.
Aye.
Mr. Zaremba.
Aye.
And myself, aye. There you go.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Members of the council, thank you for your support.
Next item on the agenda was moved from the consent agenda, is now 7Q. Who's going to address that?
Mr. President, I will.
Okay.
Mr. President, we wanted to just make sure it was clarified on the record on the development agreement for the Hill Properties, the Century Farm School. When you heard the public testimony, we were talking about a portion of the property, and we wanted to make sure it was clarified as to the acreage that's listed in both the ordinance as well as the development agreement. A portion of that property that's in the current agreement was previously annexed and part of the first annexation that was done with the Hill Century Farms. We have requested that the applicant now do a development agreement modification to the original one to make sure we move that acreage from Development Agreement 1 to the current one. So we wanted to just make sure it was clear on the record. In reading through them, it appears that the property acreage that are listed are inconsistent, but it's the reason that we will get that cleaned up with the other part. We didn't want to hold up this project by waiting for the modification. They've already began the process to do that modification and get that completed. But we wanted to make it sure on the record that why there were some disparities or differences in the acreage amounts that were listed. So there was just a clarification. We wanted to make sure everyone was aware. If I missed anything, Ms. Waters could add to it, but I think we were just wanting to make sure it was clear to everyone.
Okay. Sonia, yeah. Anything additional to add? Any questions?
Mr. President.
Mr. Byrd.
I do have one for Bill. We can do the AZ and the RZ at the same time, can't we?
Yes.
Approve it.
Yes.
I move that we approve AZ 15-004 and RZ 15-007.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 7Q. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
And for the clerk's information, item 6A was approved by roll call vote, ayes from all councilmen. All right, we're going to move into the action items now. First item on the agenda, item 8A, continued from June 23rd. Sonia?
President Roundtree, the first application before you tonight is a final plat application. The applicant, this is for Cavan Ridge subdivision, preliminary platted as Kavanaugh subdivision. The applicant did submit written testimony in response to the staff report. They are in agreement with the staff report. However, we received that letter after the deadline for the consent agenda. Would you like me to go over the staff report?
I don't see any heads nodding in the affirmative, so we're good. Any further questions?
I have none.
All right.
Nope.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Byrd.
I move we approve FP 15-022.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 8A. Is that a roll call? Roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Next item, for the folks out there in the audience, I failed to bring this up, but items G and H on the Avebury subdivision has been requested to be continued. So that hearing will be continued until July 21st. If you wish to give testimony tonight, we can take it, but it's not really going to be it. For the record, the applicant failed to post the property in accordance with our ordinance, so it has to be continued until the property is posted for for a public hearing. So if anybody in the audience is here for that this evening, I would say enjoy the rest of the evening on your way home and look forward to coming back on the 21st. Sorry I didn't make that announcement after the agenda was approved. And I see that at least a few folks are here for that. All right, back to item 8B, public hearing for Dunwoody. Sonia?
President Roundtree, Councilman, the next application before you is a request for annexation and zoning. This site consists of 1.57 acres of land, currently zoned RUT in Ada County, and it's located about a quarter-mile south of East Chinden Boulevard on the east side of North Locust Grove Road. The applicant has submitted the annexation and zoning request for 1.57 acres of land with an R2 zoning district, consistent with the corresponding future land use map designation of low-density residential for the site. A conceptual site and landscape plan was submitted for this application that depicts one new single-family home and a 25-foot wide landscape buffer along North Locust Grove Road. Access is proposed via Locust Grove, as there is not local street access available to the property. Staff is requesting a 5-foot wide detached sidewalk is constructed along Locust Grove as a provision of annexation. Staff is recommending, along with the commission, approval of the requested annexation and zoning with the development agreement that includes the provisions listed in the staff report. At the commission hearing, Mike Williams, the applicant, testified in favor of the application. No one testified in opposition or commented. Written testimony was also received from Mike Williams, the applicant, in agreement with the staff report. There was no items of discussion by the commission, nor were there changes to the staff recommendation. No written testimony has been received since the commission hearing. Staff will stand for any questions council may have.
Questions?
I have none, Mayor, or President.
Close enough. Is the applicant here? Good evening.
Good evening. How's everybody doing?
Good, and you?
Good, thank you.
If you'd give us your name and address, please.
My name is Michael Williams, and my wife Linda Williams. Our current address is 3819 Collister in Boise, Idaho, 83703.
Very good.
Future location is Lot 5. Hopefully soon have an address.
And you've indicated you are in agreement with the staff's recommendations.
That's correct.
Okay. Any questions?
I have none.
Have none? Well, thank you for being here. We'll see what happens.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
I have Michael and his wife here in favor, and I have Rex. Is Rex in the audience? Apparently not. So, yeah. Is there anyone else in the audience that wish to give testimony on this particular item? Seeing none.
Mr. President,
Mr. Byrd.
I move we close the public hearing on AZ 15-006.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on this item. All those in favor of the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Mr. President,
Mr. Byrd.
I move we approve AZ 15-006 and to consider all staff applicant comments.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 8B. Roll call vote.
Thank you. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda would be items C, D, and E, public hearings for Stone Throw subdivision by Steve Arnold, staff.
Chairman Roundtree, members of the council, and the next applications before you are a request for annexation and zoning, preliminary plat, and conditional use permit. This site consists of 9.22 acres of land. It's currently zoned RUT in Ada County and is located approximately a quarter of a mile south of East Fairview Avenue on the west side of North Mount Hood Avenue. The applicant proposes to annex and zone 10.26 acres of land with an R40 zoning district consistent with the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan and the high-density residential future land use map designation for this site. A 41-lot preliminary plat consisting of 35 building lots and 6 common lots is proposed on 9.22 acres of land. The plat is proposed to develop in 3 phases, as shown on the phasing plan there at the upper right-hand corner. Access is proposed via North Mount Hood Avenue along the east boundary of the site and the extension of East Florence Drive at the west boundary through the site, both local streets. Several driveways are proposed via East Florence Drive. A traffic impact study was submitted to and reviewed by ACHD, which included the single-family residential project to the east across Mount Hood called White Cloud Subdivision. The ACHD report states all existing local streets will operate within ACHD's acceptable level of service thresholds for local streets. A conditional use permit is requested for a multifamily residential development consisting of a total of 140 dwelling units with a mix of 2 and 3 bedroom units in an R40 zoning district. The site plan depicts a total of 35 two-story fourplex structures with a clubhouse containing an office, exercise facility, recreation room, food preparation, and outdoor seating area, a swimming pool, pathways, a bocce ball court, raised planter beds, plaza and sitting areas, a half basketball court or volleyball court, and possibly a dog run as site amenities. Since the commission hearing, the applicant submitted a revised plan, as shown, that complies with the minimum qualified open space and site amenity requirements for the subdivision as well as the multifamily development. Parking is proposed in accord with UDC standards. Parking lot landscaping as well as landscaping along the foundation of all street-facing elevations is required. The site plan before you shows the covered parking spaces and the boxed areas here. And these are just some photos of the site amenities proposed. Conceptual building elevations and pictures were submitted for the residential and clubhouse structures within this development, as shown. These are the multifamily. There are 3 different designs of the residential structures proposed, consisting of a pinwheel design, modified pinwheel, which there's not an entry on the back side of the structure, only a patio on structures that abut existing residential properties along the south and west boundaries, and a modern design. The proposed structures have the appearance of single-family homes rather than apartments. Building materials are proposed to consist of a mix of fiber cement board and batten and/or shingle-style siding, horizontal lap siding, and trim and fascia with architectural-grade asphalt shingles. And this is clubhouse elevations here. Color site plan. The commission did recommend approval of these applications at their hearing. Steve Arnold testified in favor, the applicant's representative. In opposition, several folks testified. Excuse me if I mispronounce anybody's names. Alvira McLean, Georgia Lett, Linda Monroe, Ruby Struble, Deborah McKnight, Ray Valenti, Emery Helm, Richard Salisbury, Patricia Jennings, Randy Jennings, Doug Peterson, Lori Cover, Robert Stucker, Scott Kim, Dolores Sass, Megan Ward, and Ken Sansucci. Written testimony was received from Steve Arnold in response to the staff report. A petition was submitted from adjacent property owners in Crossroads subdivision. Testimony was received from Emery and Pamela Helm and Shirley Lovett. The key issue of discussion at the commission hearing was the traffic circulation and volumes in the general vicinity, mainly on Florence Street and cutting through the residential neighborhood to the west. The changes that the commission made to the staff recommendation are as follows. They voted to erect signage notifying the public of special needs hearing impaired residents in the vicinity at the exit of the development on Florence. And where crosswalks are proposed, they should be constructed as raised crosswalks for a length of 6 to 8 feet for traffic calming or other traffic calming method as allowed by ACHD. There are no outstanding issues for the council, and no written testimony has been received since the commission hearing. Staff will stand for any questions council may have.
Questions?
I have no at this point.
David? Apparently not. Is the applicant with us this evening? If you'd come up and share with us about your proposal.
Mr. Chairman, members of the City Council, for the record, my name is Steve Arnold. I'm with 18 Land Consultants, 1785 Whisper Cove, Boise 83709. I think Sonia kind of hit most of the highlights. I'll give you kind of the thoughts behind how we laid this project out and design considerations. We did have a neighborhood meeting on this prior to submitting the application, and as Sonia stated earlier, one of the considerations was traffic from Florence Street connecting over. One of the suggestions was that we don't connect Florence. Out of courtesy, I asked ACHD, I already knew the answer about that, and I didn't think the city would support. So what we did was we tried to mitigate as best we could the impact. So on here, we were showing approximately 3 chokers to choke down some of the traffic. That, along with the speed bumps, we felt would help suffice some of the concerns with traffic going back and forth between our site and to the west. We did do a traffic study, and it was fewer traffic going west than expected. I think we had approximately 186 trips per day going that way, and a little bit more going south towards the McHale Meadows subdivision. And that was at approximately 325 trips per day. As Sonia stated, there was a traffic analysis that we did for this, and all the streets are well below the capacity that can handle the traffic from the site. Going into some of the buildings, these are buildings that you've seen on Timber Grove behind Coles and at Franklin and Locust Grove. Architecturally, they've got quite a bit of features to them with quite a bit of hips and valleys. It's important to note they're only 28 feet high with no upstairs balcony. And as Sonia was stating, we put a certain type, we have a pinwheel, we got a modern, and then we've got this modified pinwheel, which basically has no rear entry, so we back that up to the single family to give the appearance that you're backing a single family product up or townhouse type product up to the single family to make for the transitioning uses. It's worked really well on Timber Grove. It appeased the neighborhood pretty good there because of the setbacks. Speaking of setbacks, the required setback is 15 feet. What we're showing along the south is roughly 30 to 40. That includes a 10-foot common lot for an irrigation facility. Along the west, we're roughly 20 to 30. We undulated the building or angled it different ways to give for larger pockets of landscaping there. And we're going to try to beef up that landscaping, or we're showing beefed up landscaping to help buffer adjacent uses with what we are proposing. Florence Road, going back to that road, we did provide detached sidewalks so that we could create a boulevard effect. That coupled with our bulb outs, we should be able to create kind of a boulevard effect that will have traffic calming effects in itself. The clubhouse, I think Sonia hit on this a little bit, but our clubhouse, it's kind of a unique design. You don't see too many clubhouses with a windmill next to them. It's architecturally, it resembles a barn, but it's very nice setup. They've got not a little pool, these are larger pools for housing these facilities. And as stated, we're doing the raised planter beds, the bocce ball court, and all the amenities with inside. I think that's all I have for my presentation. I guess I'll stand for questions and hopefully clear things up.
Questions for Mr. Arnold?
I have none at this time.
I guess one last item. Just before I got here, I forgot to make a call to the representative of the neighborhood association to the south, and I was able to talk to my client tonight. Before, we were going to do a raised medium in Mount Hood. In talking with the representative tonight, we'd be willing to put up a road trust deposit that would be deposited to either ACHD, the city, to pay for speed bumps for speeding concerns in the subdivision south of us in McHale Meadows. That, as discussed with the representative tonight, would be refunded if after 3 years it wasn't utilized in construction. So that was just agreed to 15, 20 minutes ago. So that's something that we would agree to. One of the items also that was of concern there was that our residents would be using the basketball court within their subdivision. Right now, we were proposing either a volleyball court or a basketball court at our southwest corner. We're also the developers of the subdivision to the east of us. It's called White Cloud Subdivision. It was approved through the city of Boise. We were planning to do the basketball court over there, but I think it doesn't matter either way. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Mr. President?
Joe.
Steve, would the refund after 3 years, would that be 3 years after the final building permit of your project? What would trigger the start of that clock?
It was just discussed, Commissioner Borton. I think we can stipulate that tonight. You know, we're anticipating getting on this pretty quickly. Maybe we do it 3 years after the recordation of the first phase of the final plat.
Mr. President, if the conditions intended to address traffic, perhaps provide traffic calming, is it more appropriate to have it start later?
Well, on that note, I don't think that the volume of traffic really warrants it. In this case, it's our client that is being good faith, trying to show, you know, whether you got 10 cars speeding or 50 cars speeding, you know, if they can get it in sooner, I would, you know, we'll certainly support it.
Other questions?
I have none.
Thank you. I have one for sure person signed up to testify, Emery Helm. Good evening. If you'd give us your name and address.
Yes, I'm Emery Helm. I live at 1211 North Legislative Way in Crossroads Sub. And probably going to surprise Mr. Arnold, but if my neighbors were here, they'd probably throw rocks at me. But I studied this design that they propose here, and it is a good design. I like it. It's a very nice design. However, the thing that we're concerned about is that there's single-family houses subdivision to the south, single-family houses where we're at to the west, and they're putting single-family houses to the east. And I do like this design, I just think it's in the wrong place. If they would have flip-flopped that and had the single-family houses up by the single-family houses, and I realize they can't do that now, it would have been a lot better for us. The other thing that we're really concerned about is opening Florence up. It's dead-ended right there, and there's a street in a subdivision of the south, I can't recall its name now, runs from Cloverdale all the way up to our subdivision, Crossroads Sub. And what they did there is went right to our sub, cut it off, put a cul-de-sac in, and put a walkway through there. Now, I know Mr. Arnold said that he had a traffic engineer study the traffic. If he was my traffic engineer, I'd fire him on the spot. Because any fifth grader with common sense can look at this and tell you that just about the majority of traffic will come right through our subdivision to Records, to go to Walmart, to go to the Crossroads Shopping Center, to go over to the Village, to go to Fairview. The majority of that traffic is coming right through our subdivision. And he says 187 cars. I sat down and figured out there'd be between 300 and 400 cars a day come through there. And that's one of our main concerns. And if I may, one thing that got us angry is that when my wife and I took these letters in to planning and zoning, a nice young lady came out named Sonia. And she is nice, and we told her, well, this is our letter of protest. We don't want this. We don't want to open up Florence. And she was nice till then. And then she just all of a sudden said, that's going through and we're going to open up Florence. And I says, you mean this is a done deal? And she started to shake her head, yes, but then she kind of backed off and said, well, just go to the meeting. And I asked the Planning and Zoning Board the same question, and I didn't accuse them. I asked them, I said, is this a done deal? You know, it's kind of like our subdivision is a Rodney Dangerfield of subdivisions. We don't get any respect with what the neighbors say. I haven't talked to one neighbor that wants this through. Even though the design it's a good design, it's just in the wrong place. And the neighbor, Shirley, that I'm speaking for also, she's in Colorado, she can't be here. Her house backs right up to where they're going to build this, and her house also sits right on Florence. And she's a single lady. Her husband passed away last year, and she's pretty much horrified about what's going to happen. But like I say, Steve, it's a good design. It's just in the wrong place.
If I could have you summerice, please.
Okay.
Three minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just about done.
Okay,
but
please.
It kind of just, you know, got to us when we walked in, and basically it was a done deal. And the Planning and Zoning Board, when I asked them, I said, did you even look at the letter and look at the pictures that I took? They got the deer in the headlight look like, and you could tell they never even read them. And so we're pretty upset about that. But I thank you for letting me spout off up here and talk, and I appreciate you men and the lady if she was here. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Mr. President, can I ask him a question real quick?
We have
Mr. Helm.
Mr. Helm, we have a question for you.
Question for you.
Sorry. Yes, sir.
Can you articulate for me a little bit further where these cars are going to come from that you're concerned about? That if
Yeah, they're
Florence
going to come
is
from, there's that many apartments, I call them apartments, that's what they are. There's going to be at least probably 2 cars for an apartment, plus the other subdivision, plus the subdivision in the south. When they want to go to the Village, or they want to go to Walmart, or they want to go to, and the one to the east also, they're not going out to Fairview because there's no light there, and they're not going to Cloverdale because that would be a long way around. They come right through us and come through our subdivision the shortest way, and there's a light there at Records so they can get across Fairview. And that's where all these cars are coming from.
Follow up, Mr. President. I assume Records is the preferred street of the residents in your neighborhood, though, as well?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Other questions? All right. You can sit down now. I have Rex on this list again. I don't know if Rex is somebody having fun this evening, but I don't see Rex. Are there any other folks out there that wish to testify? Yes, sir.
My name is Ray Valenti. I live at 942 North Stoley Place, McHale Meadows subdivision in Meridian, Idaho. I'm the gentleman that Mr. Arnold was talking about. We've been negotiating as to what's going to happen with this development. First of all, I want to say that Mr. Arnold has been very good with negotiating with us and up front, and I'm pleased to deal with the negotiation with him. He has our interests at heart, and I appreciate that. It's really tough. He got beat up last time he was at the planning and zoning meeting. Anyway, I live in the McHale Meadows subdivision. I live on Stoley. Stoley, I'm in the dead end, at the south end of Stoley. And realistically, 3 of you know me. I'm a retired Boise cop, 31 years. I know what people do with cars. They take the path of least resistance. They're going to come out of this subdivision. Now we're talking about 160 unit development being built here in Meridian, but right next door is 140 unit. That's 300 units adding to the north of our area. The 140 units in Boise City, it's going to put traffic in our neighborhood. We understand that. If people are going to want to get to the freeway from this subdivision, they're going to blow through these subdivisions. That's a fact. You can't prevent it. It's what's going to happen. I've been in touch with Mr. John Wasson of the 80 County Highway District, talking with him, trying to find out what's going to go on. And our traffic studies were done about a year ago, and they're inadequate. They don't really represent what's going to happen. I did ask Mr. Arnold about the traffic calming devices. Our subdivision asked for 3 years. At the completion of their development, to 3 years, if we can't substantiate that we need the traffic calming devices, they have their money back. That's where that 3 year came from. We're trying to be reasonable, and I think they're trying to be reasonable. We have concerns that our basketball court's going to be overrun, because realistically, people are going to take the path of least opposition. They're going to come into our neighborhood versus trying to cross Fairview to get into the Kleiner Park subdivision, go play basketball. It's going to happen. So I encourage the developer to go for basketball, a basketball hoop versus volleyball. Mr. Arnold has graciously accepted to put in 3 traffic calming devices if needed. That's dictated by 80 County Highway District. You know that, and I know that. None of us in this room have any input on whether those will or will not go in. We understand that. I think they've done what they can do to make this work, and we're willing to work with them. They've answered our causes, but the traffic will be an issue. By the way, I was late because I sat through 3 cycles at the light at Pine and Eagle to get here tonight. 3. Oh, those are 4.5 minutes. I've timed them.
Me too.
Members of the City Council, thank you for your time. The Police Department, the Fire Department, the City Council, please come to our Homeowners Association National Night Out in August. We'd love to have you.
We'll be there.
We'll be there. Anyone else wish to testify? Seeing none? What's council's wish?
Mr. Arnold,
Okay, Mr. Arnold?
The name and address again?
No.
Good deal. First of all, I appreciate the neighborhood turnout this city council. I do try to work hard. I appreciate the process through the city, so their kind words were nice. In regards to my traffic engineer, and since he's not here, and I do got to comment on that, he is probably one of the most conservative engineers. There are engineers that are very loose with their numbers to work towards the development. Chang used to work with me at Stanley Consultants, and although I do question some of the traffic going west, I think he's covered it fairly well. Other than that, I'll stand for questions. I didn't hear anything that I need to respond to. Again, thank you.
I think there was a plea for a basketball court as opposed to a volleyball court.
The basketball court fits a little bit better in White Cloud, but I can make it happen in Stonesville. I guess to also address another question, The entities that are doing the multifamily are different from the entities that are doing the single family. And the name Stone's Throw is because it's a stone's throw from Meridian Village. So the idea is to try to get higher density towards the commercial uses up in that area. So.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Arnold? Thank you. Council?
Mr. President, I move we close the public hearings on AZ 15-005, PP 15-006, and CUP 15-009.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on items 8, C, D, and E. All those in favor of the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
Seeing none, motion passes.
Mr. President, question for staff. Sonia, the applicant talked about, and those that were testifying are talked about establishing the substantial need for traffic calming devices. Is that something that we're going to dictate, is what that quote-unquote substantial need is? Is that something that we're relying on the ACHD to determine that? I just need some clarification on that arbitrary term.
President, Councilman Kavner, that's probably something that the applicant should be speaking to, but the city doesn't necessarily require those. It would have to be approved by ACHD. I believe that was in response to the last hearing, testimony at the hearing, and neighbors wanting traffic to slow down. Mr. Neri, did you remember something different?
No,
from that? Okay.
Mr. President, members of the council, Councilman Kavner, there are specific policies of ACHD, and you have a representative here if you want them to just state, to reopen just for that, if you feel the necessity to have those policies on your record. But they make that determination. They have policies in existence and how it's done.
Are you comfortable with that, Mr.?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other discussion? Motions?
Mr. President,
Mr. Byrd?
I move that we approve AZ 15-005 with staff, applicant, and public testimony included. And is this where we would put the time for the calming devices to start? Or would that be in the preliminary plat? This is the zoning, so it don't have nothing to do with that.
You could, or you could wrap it into the development agreement, Councilman Byrd. Probably the development agreement would be more appropriate.
And I would include in the development agreement that the 3-year time on the 3 calming devices would start at the end of the last CO for this subdivision. Okay? That agreement?
Been a motion made?
Yep.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to approve this item with the conditions stated in the development agreement. All those in favor of the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Councilmember Kavner.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Mr. President,
Mr. Byrd?
approve PP 15-006 and to include all staff, applicant, and public testimony.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to approve item 8D. Vote.
Thank you. Councilmember Kavner.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Mr. President,
Mr. Byrd?
I move we approve CUP 15-009 and to include all staff, applicant, and public testimony.
Second?
Seconded to approve item 8E. Is there any discussion on the conditional use permit? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Kavner.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
That brings us to item 8F. Sonia or Bruce?
I will take care of that, sorry about that. I forgot, that's Bill's. Give me just a moment here. The next application before you is a request for a vacation. This site is located at 3056 North Sunnyside Place. The applicant requests approval to vacate a portion, 4 foot by 24 foot area south of the northeast property line of the 10-foot wide public utility drainage and irrigation easement along the east boundary of Lot 10, Block 3, platted with Staten Park subdivision. The remaining 6 feet of the easement will remain along the east boundary of the property line. There is a diagram showing that. Approval of the subject vacation application will remove a portion of the easement and allow the applicant to submit for a building permit to construct a new 12-foot by 24-foot shed on the property outside of the 5-foot wide side yard setback. The applicant has also solicited input from the adjacent neighbors who are in support of the larger shed. All public utilities have given consent to relinquish the portion of said easement. The Nampa Meridian Irrigation District has stated they have no jurisdiction over the easement area. Since none of the applicable utility providers object to the proposed vacation, staff recommends approval of vacating the easements as proposed. No written testimony has been received on the application, and there are no outstanding issues for council. Staff will stand for any questions.
Questions for staff, this item?
I have none.
Is the applicant here? Do you wish to provide any information? You've indicated you're supporting of this.
Well, I'm not used to speaking in front of a bunch of people, but
Wait till you get to the mic, please. If you give us your name and address, please.
Leroy Erickson, 3056 Sunnyside Place, Meridian, Idaho. On this piece I'd like to go into, there's 173 foot, 10 foot of that going through there. Plus I got another, my notes here. And I have another 42 foot with a 10 foot easement. So in other words, I got like 1,800 square feet of my living, not my living area, but my lot that supposedly I can't do anything with. I mean, behind my house where I want to put this shed, there's already 10 foot on my side, there's 10 foot on the adjoining side, excuse me, and the irrigation line runs on the other side of the fence. I contacted all the utilities, every one of them, all of them were fine with it. They say they don't have any need for it. All of our stuff comes in from, it's on a cul-de-sac, all of our stuff comes in from the front. And there's already a shed there when I moved in, and I wanted it, it was a 10 by 12, and what I want to do is a 12 by 24. I like to do a lot of tinkering. It's not set up for a business or anything like that, but that's all I'm really looking for.
Okay.
And I appreciate
Thank you for
you
being
looking
here.
it over.
This is a public hearing, and you did sign up to testify for it, and you have done that, and I have Pamela as well. Do you wish to, you support it? And even though I suspect it's somebody having fun this evening, Rex is signed up against again, so Rex, whoever you are, you've had a presence on every sign-up sheet this evening and not showing your face, so thank you. Anybody else out there wish to testify in this particular hearing? Seeing none?
Mr. President,
Mr. Borden.
move we close the public hearing on VAC 15007.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on item 8F. All those in favor of the motion signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good.
Mr. President,
Mr. Borden.
move that we approve VAC 15-007.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 8F. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Okay, the next two items have been asked to continue, items 8G and H. Have a motion to continue them.
Mr. President, are you going to open the public hearings first?
I will open the public hearing.
Okay. Mr. President, I move that we continue the public hearings on RZ 15-008 and PP 15-007 to July 21st, 2015.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to continue items 8G and H to July 21st. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Department reports. Robert, from the mayor's office.
Thank you, Council President Roundtree, members of the council. Next two items on the agenda are appointments to the Meridian Transportation Commission. We've had a few vacancies, and lucky enough to have a lot of qualified applicants that came in for this. It just took a little while to generate all the qualified applicants to come in. The first one is Ryan Hall. He's a 18-year resident of the city of Meridian, not in the transportation area, but financial planning. The mayor met with the individuals along with the chair of the commission in selecting these applicants, and this person was initially selected prior to the additional ones coming in, but they still felt he was more than qualified. And I know that Mr. Hall, it was tentatively be here. I've not met him, but I believe he's here in the audience and may want to say a few words after you consider his application. The second one is Brian, and I'm sorry, I think his name is Lee. I don't know that for a fact, but he is someone that brings a certain perspective that I know they've been looking on the Transportation Commission relating to bicycles. You know, someone who has a real interest in that component to the community, and again, was the person selected for the position. So I bring those both to you for your consideration and be happy to attempt to answer any questions if I can.
Any questions for Robert?
Mr. President,
Mr. Zaremba.
just a clarification, if I may. Both of these are completing a term on a vacant seat. Is that correct? This is not a new complete term for each of them?
One of them is completing a vacancy. One of them is a complete new term.
Okay.
It's filling, Pat Morandi completed his term, so it is filling that one for 3 years. The other one was a step down and has 2 years left on that term.
Thank you.
Are either of the applicants here this evening that might want to, if you want to get your opportunity to speak in public, or just raise your hand so we know who you are, or whatever your choice.
So I'm Brian Leslie. You were close. I'm really excited about this volunteer position, and I'm happy to offer what I can to the community to make it a better place.
Great.
And to continue it.
Thank you for your commitment. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. That's what makes us go around.
Thanks, Brian.
Mr. President,
Mr. Byrd.
see, now you're running the meeting, I'll make the motions. I move we approve resolution number 15-1074, appointing Ryan Hall to seat 2 of the Meridian Transportation Commission.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve item 9A. Roll call.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Mr. President,
Mr. Byrd.
I would move that we approve resolution number 15-1075, appointing Brian Leslie to seat 7 of the Meridian Transportation Commission.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 9B. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Okay, Robert, you're doing the next one as well?
Yes, I am.
All right.
All right. Council President, members of the council, what you have in front of you next is a budget amendment to put on a youth farmers market here in downtown. You may or may not remember, but the state of the city, the mayor mentioned looking into the possibility of bringing a farmers market back to downtown that would be focused on youth to make it unique. This is an attempt to do an event in September that would hopefully be the kickoff to a full-time youth farmers market next summer. The funds that are here are primarily funds that have been earmarked from the Blue Cross of Idaho Foundation that the city was a recipient of. That's the $10,000. We've also received funding from MDC in the amount of $1,500 and expect to receive some funds from the Boise Co-op as well to do this. So these would all be funds that would be coming in from outside sources to put on this one-time event, as well as get some of the supplies for next year's event, such as tables and canopies. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Robert?
Mr. President.
Luke.
Robert, you said attempt. I assume that this is happening in September?
This is, we are trying to make sure it does happen. Part of that requires vendors. So vendors have to be lined up. We need a minimum of 10 youth vendors. Last count, I know we had about 6 confirmed. The mayor just put out something in the city newsletter this week, so we're hoping to see that grow. But as far as the only thing is we are waiting for final feedback from Blue Cross of Idaho that they're willing to put in their funds that we need to do the tables and canopies to offset some of the costs for people. If they by chance come back and say they are not interested in doing it this year, that could postpone us from doing the event as we see it. Doesn't mean we couldn't do something similar. Even with the funds from MDC, I think we get something off the ground. It just may not be the entire event that we would envision for this fall.
So if I'm correct, then we haven't received the funds from Blue Cross or from MDC or from the Boise Co-op, correct?
Correct. Nothing has been transmitted to us officially. The Blue Cross one is technically a grant. That's, typically we expend and they pay back, and that's how this would go. But until we get sign off from them, we wouldn't be moving forward on any purchases for any of the things related to this event. Or we'd come back and let you know that they've stalled and have a further discussion with council, but we wouldn't spend the money just until we get it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Other questions?
Mr. President, just procedurally, what's the reason for doing a budget amendment now, prior to having that confirmation?
Today's the last day to do budget amendments for the year.
Pretty good reason.
Following the rules.
You didn't know that.
Testing you.
Yes.
What do you think? We got 10 of it on here.
No more questions? Do I
Mr.
have a motion?
Mr. President.
Mr. Byrd.
I move we approve the budget amendment for the youth farmers market not to exceed amount of $13,000.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve item 9C. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye. Thanks, Robert. Item 9D. Fire Department. Chief, are you going to do all 3 of these?
I'm not. I'm going to do this one, and then
Okay.
Chief Jones, Chief
All
Palmer,
right.
tag team in here. Mr. President, members of council, thank you. First of all, I can assure you I'm not Rex. I'm not sure who Rex is, but it's not me.
I'm not either. He signed up and didn't show.
I am here to request funds not to exceed $20,000 for the participation and development of a multi-agency master plan. This discussion began about 6 months ago with the mayor as we discussed how to plan for future levels of service, future staffing levels, future station build-outs, apparatus replacement, et cetera. And enlisted the help of ESCI, who's a firm we have used in the past for our strategic plan development. They are one of only a few in the nation that do emergency services consulting. We have used them very successfully in the past. They are endorsed by the international fire chiefs as well. We also presented this concept to the rural fire district, and they have in turn unanimously supported their participation in this to help fund it as well. Through those continued discussions, we realized there may be future opportunities with our neighbors to the south and then primarily the northwest in Star and Cuna. At the mayor's direction, I also engaged both of those fire districts, and they expressed a willingness to want to participate and help fund the plan as well. They see an area where we can collaborate in the future. I do believe firmly that the future of the fire service is collaboration, where we can try and reduce costs. I think we've proven that in the EMS Joint Powers Agreement. We can prove that on the fire side through standardization of equipment, joint purchasing, and using our purchasing power to decrease our cost overall. So we do have a commitment from both Cuna and Star to also participate. Prior to bringing it to you, we also were contacted by 2 additional fire districts. Make that 3, I'm sorry. Middleton, Caldwell, and Parma that had caught wind that we were doing this, and they expressed an interest in participating as well. They face the same challenges we do long term of cost, and how do we come together and do things together to help reduce cost overall to our respective municipalities and districts. So they are included in this plan. That's why it is called a multi-agency master plan. We did engage Councilman Borton as well as Stacy from Finance. She's very supportive of this plan. She has been asking for a couple years, how do we determine levels of service? And we fully anticipate that the development of this plan will help us identify response time standards throughout different parts of our response area. The plan also looks at staffing levels. It looks at overtime, which is something I know we're all very interested in. It also helps to establish some short, mid, and long-term strategies. So with that, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions.
Mark?
Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Mark, we've got, besides the rural and ourselves, we've got 5 other entities that are interested, and the total package is $60,000, and we're putting up 40 between the 2 of us, the 40,000, which leaves another 20 for them, 4,000 apiece. Is that how that's going?
So the 60,000 is for the city of Meridian, Meridian Rural, Cuna, and Star. The plan started with just Meridian Rural and the city. I asked ESCI to do up a bid, and that was $40,000 for the 2 combined jurisdictions. To add smaller jurisdictions, each one of those are really one-station operations, adds about $10,000 to the cost. So when Star and Cuna came on board, that added essentially $20,000, which brought it to $60,000. If Middleton and Caldwell continue as they said they're going to, they'll pay $10,000 as well when they jump on.
Okay, Mark, let me clarify something then. Has Cuna and Middleton committed to their 10, or are we sitting right at a $40,000 deal right now?
Cuna and Star are both committed. Middleton is committed. Caldwell has committed. They're running one thing by their legal counsel. Currently the chief of Caldwell, Chief Wendelsdorf, is a board member of the International Fire Chiefs, and they just want to make sure there's no conflict of interest because the International has endorsed this company. But they've committed. I don't anticipate Parma participating. That's a 3rd district that was interested, but I don't see them participating.
Okay. Answer my question.
David?
Thank you, Mr. President. Couple of questions. I see capital outlay expenditures mentioned several times. That term is used. I'm interpreting this overall as a memorandum of understanding for services, sharing services with each other. Does that one phrase, or is there some other intent to this, that it might also be a joint purchasing?
This one right here?
Yeah.
Down here?
That's not the one we're talking
G
about.
for this,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
This is what I was looking for. I'm sorry.
I'm going.
Getting there.
Now are you confused, David?
Okay, that's not the master plan. Forget that question.
Okay.
I'll ask it
Mr.
later.
Mary later.
Luke, you had a question?
Chief, I noticed that the it's on. I just need to be closer. I need to. Sorry, Chief. I just happened to notice that both your check mark of approval and your liaison's check mark of approval are missing on this. Is there any reason? Is that the
No, I had a check mark.
formality? Maybe it's not visible in the. Just.
I would hope I checked it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. President. Yeah, it should be checked. We had some good discussions. If to provide a little clarity to some things that we did discuss are, what components of the master plan, especially when you add more and more agencies, might not be as relevant. You used the comment, or made the comment of, response time, which might be more an individualized goal of a particular municipality, as opposed to collaborating on locations, station locations, purchasing powers. Are there some components of the master plan work that wouldn't fit within the scope of all these agencies?
Yeah, good question, Mr. President, Councilman Borton. There are going to be aspects that ESI looks at for each department individually, because we do have some unique characteristics amongst our departments. For example, though, the issue of response time standards, we would like to define it as what's identified in the legislation through the EMS legislation for areas which consist of urban, suburban, rural, and then frontier. And really what we try to achieve as fire departments is that same type of response time standard throughout our different jurisdictions. So in that sense, one response time goal could apply to multiple, or it could be broken out individually. That's just going to be part of the process as we go through the plan.
Okay.
But there certainly will be some aspects of each department that will be very unique, and they'll identify those unique areas and address them in the plan. So we've talked about layout a little bit. You may see a Meridian section, a Caldwell section, and then a section where you can truly collaborate together to reduce costs or become more efficient and effective.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
Mr. President, I'll resurrect the question I was intending to ask.
Okay.
I was referencing the wrong thing, but it would apply to a multi-agency master plan. And where I'm going with it is there any way of developing a joint purchasing plan? And is that part of this?
I do believe it will be. I certainly can't speak to what the outcomes will be, because there's certainly analysis that needs to take place, but I would hope that one of the outcomes
Ask
is
the
a
consultant
plan.
to look at that
Absolutely.
as an idea.
And we've had several discussions with the consultants about that as far as mid and short-term type strategies.
Mm-hmm.
How do we look at purchasing together to reduce cost? And we would like them to lead that discussion.
Thank you.
Further questions?
Mr. President.
Mr. Borton.
No other question. I would move that we approve 9D, the budget amendment for the multi-agency master plan, in an amount not to exceed $20,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 9D. Roll call.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, item 9E. Perry, your
Thank
turn.
you. Council President, members of the council, the next amendment before you is for fire prevention and public education. In the exhibit, you will see where there are 5 sources of income that the department has received, and an accompanying 3 areas for expenditures. The revenues and the expenditures match at $23,220. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions?
I have none for that.
Seeing none?
Mr. President.
Mr. Borton.
Move that we approve item 9E, the budget amendment for the public education and prevention funds in an amount not to exceed $23,220.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 9E. All those in favor? Oh, roll call, excuse me.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Next item, 9F.
Good evening, President Roundtree, members of council. I think this is about all of the firefighters you're going to see this evening. But finally, I'd like to present a budget amendment request for the amount not to exceed $16,232 to purchase bicycles, medical gear, AEDs, and uniforms to initiate a bicycle medic program that the department will use to staff special events in the city of Meridian, where we can provide a more rapid and environmentally friendly response. This total will be offset by a grant that the department received recently from the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation in the amount of $16,867 specifically for this program, and that fund has been received and deposited. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Mr. President.
Mr. Byrd.
Chief, are we going to have the police officers that ride the bikes now man these? Is that how we're doing it, or are we going to bring people in on overtime to man these?
Councilman Byrd, members of council, what we'll do is continue our current staffing levels that we're using to staff these events with our firefighter, EMTs, and paramedics. We're currently staffing Meridian City sponsored events, historic events, and some promoted events on overtime with our firefighters, and we'll continue that same level of service. Currently, what we're doing is we are borrowing UTVs from Parks and Recreation or putting the firefighters on foot. So we're not going to incur any increased cost over what we've been doing. We're just simply changing the manner in which they will respond.
We're covering the special events with OT now, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
What you just stated.
The one exception to that, Councilman Byrd, when we do have sponsored events or promoted events, such as events in Kleiner Park, those costs are offset through the TUP process. So if there was a promoter having an event, then they are billed for those wages.
Are we taking an engine out there at the time right now, or to man those?
Not typically, no, sir.
I didn't think so. Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Mr. President, it's more of a procedural question, just based on the last two amendments we've seen. A lot of penciled in dollar amounts after the form has been filled in. I assume that all the department directors, Mayor Stacy, have seen these since those numbers have been updated. Don't mean to put you on the spot. Maybe the department or the council liaison can just confer.
The updated reports from what I've seen is what's on the web link, what you're probably looking at right now.
Okay.
So, and that matches the numbers that you're signifying will be expended to complete that project?
Yeah, so the only
12,000
discrepancy in this
16, excuse me.
in this amendment is from amount of about $600. The quotes we received from Meridian Cycle did include sales tax. So that amount of money will be refunded to Firehouse Subs Foundation, and the actual amount of $16,232 is for the purchase of the equipment.
Okay.
So the question I have is a rather large ongoing expense. Uniforms. What's the uniform difference in getting them shorts?
Yes, sir, President Roundtree, because we're going to put firefighters on bicycles in the summer in the park. Our standard fire-resistant clothing uniforms not really adequate. We consulted with Sergeant Harpin, the police department, and we're purchasing the same style uniforms the police bike patrol purchases. Sir.
Further questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Borton.
If there's no other questions, I would move we approve 9F, the budget amendment for the bicycle medic program in an amount not to exceed $16,232.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 9F. Roll call.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
The next item is 9G, and Bill, you're going to run down that with us?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Mr. President, members of the council, and again, with all good intentions, the action item or the department report item that's listed in the packet was just the prior agreement that was previously discussed and then simply transferred over. I've handed you the new agreement that we have negotiated with the rural district, and we basically have pared it down, and as I reported to you a couple weeks ago, what the district has decided to do was simply have an MOU for the one continuing year. And the objection or the intention is then from this point forward that over the next few months we'll negotiate a new ongoing agreement for the future years going forward. So we pared it down to a pretty simple, basic two-page agreement, which is pretty good for lawyers, especially ones that get paid by the hour.
When they get paid by the letter.
Yeah. And so you'll note in subparagraph 2 on the second page, there was some other language previously that was unclear as to what the definition was as to what was being paid for. Now it simply is trying to be much clearer that it's 15% of the departmental cost, excluding the capital outlay for fire engines. We did have a request from the finance department today if that was for all capital outlay, because we sometimes define capital of other things such as computers. But because computers for the fire department are very small, not computers for the entire city, which is why we define those as capital for the city, The district had no concern about that. They were just concerned about the engines, and they were just concerned about the AEDs, because that's a defined program that is within the city limits. So that's why they've called out those two things, but that was it. So that they wanted to make it as simple as possible and as direct as we could. But I apologize that the one in the packet, that if you've looked at that previously, it's the same one you've seen before. And this is the one that has been negotiated and is ready for approval if you're okay with it. If I missed anything, Chief Niemeyer, I'm sure can add to it. But
No problem.
No questions? Don't see any questions?
Mr. President, just one question. When you go through the process for the next year for the new agreement, is it feasible to start from scratch, so to speak, and have a new agreement that contains everything, so all of the references and attachments of old previous ones can be stopped? And we'll have a new single document going forward?
Mr. President, members of the Council, Councilmember Borden, that is absolutely our intention. Mr. Fitzgerald and I both have said the same thing, that this constant reference to the 98 agreement, the 2011 addendum, is confusing to everyone, and we need to just have one document moving forward. Okay. The intention originally of this, you recall about a month ago, was to supersede all of those. We outlined what those agreements were that we were superseding, and then we got hung up on some of the language wasn't clearly defined. So going forward, it will probably have a statement similar to the prior version, which said this supersedes all of these prior agreements. We'll list them so it's clear in the record what we're eliminating, and we'll have one agreement going forward.
Okay. No exhibits of the previous ones?
No.
Okay. Mr. President?
No further? Okay, Joe.
Any questions?
You're okay?
I guess I was just going to comment. It's nice to have a historical reference to how long we've had an agreement in there, and I don't know if there's a way to put a sentence like that in there. I agree with Councilman Borton. We should have new writing that doesn't keep referring to the old ones, but maybe one line that mentions the historical, how long we've had an agreement with them.
Sure.
Yeah, Councilmember Zerma, my intention would be that we would have probably a paragraph that would list what they were, with some reference that if an interested party wanted to go find those, they're available in the public record, but not attach them to the new agreement so that now it becomes, instead of being a 10-page agreement, it's a 70-page agreement because we have 60 pages of attachments. So we would reference it certainly so that it's clear, but we would allow people to then go look at that at their own choosing if they wish.
That works for me.
No more questions, Mr. Ward?
Mr. President, I would move that we approve item 9G, the MOU between the City of Meridian and Meridian Rural Fire Protection District for fiscal year 2015-2016.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 9G. Roll call.
Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Annually, we have a budgeted line item for outside legal expenses in the case of where we ever have to hire outside counsel for a particular case. We have had an ongoing case since 2010 regarding a court facility in the city of Meridian. We're currently in mediation. We have outside counsel that's been representing the city since December of 2010. Each year, I have to estimate at approximately this time how much potentially we may need in the most worst-case scenario between now and the end of the fiscal year if we needed to pay legal expenses for either the lawyer costs, motions that are necessary, or in this current case, mediation. So what I did is I asked our outside counsel to give us the worst-case scenario, looking at what we've already expended in this fiscal year, including what's been expended above what our budgeted amount is to this point, looking at the mediation, which isn't completed yet, looking at the potential that if it were to not go in a positive fashion, then we would then have some additional legal costs, and try to come up with an estimate as to how much would be necessary to be able to pay all of these through the rest of the fiscal year. I'm always hopeful that we're going to resolve this case sooner rather than later, but I have to be prepared in June because of our scheduling as to how much we could potentially have to pay. That's the number that's in front of you. Again, it's based on the best estimate that we could come up with between outside counsel and myself to cover the expenses through the rest of this fiscal year.
For Bill.
Mr. President, I would just add a clarification. I think you mentioned that this refers to a lawsuit about the courthouse. I would like to clarify on the record that this is a lawsuit that the county filed against us, and we are responding.
That is correct.
Other questions or clarifications?
Mr. President.
Mr. Zaremba.
I move we approve the budget amendment for fiscal year 2015 for the not-to-exceed amount of $50,000 for outside legal expenses.
Moved and seconded to approve the request for legal expenses. 9H. Roll call.
Member Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
That brings us to the ordinance section. If the clerk would read the ordinance in item 10A by title only.
City of Meridian Ordinance 15-1649 and Ordinance AZ 15-002 Decatur Estates for annexation and rezone of a parcel of land being the southeast 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of Section 35, Township 4 North, Range 1 West, Boise, Meridian, Ada County, Idaho, as described in Attachment A, and annexing certain lands and territories situated in Ada County, Idaho, and adjacent and contiguous to the corporate limits of the City of Meridian, as requested by the City of Meridian. Establishing and determining the land use zoning classification of said lands from RUT to R4 Low Density Residential District in the Meridian City Code. Providing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law. In providing for a summary of the ordinance and providing for a waiver of the reading rules and providing an effective date.
Study done. You've heard the title read, or ordinance read by title only. Anybody out there want to hear it all, Frank? No? All right.
Mr. President.
Mr. Byrd.
Seeing that nobody wants to read the whole thing, I would move that we approve ordinance number 15-1649 with suspension of rules.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve item 10A. Roll call.
Thank you. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
And Madam Clerk, if you'd read item 10B by title only.
City of Meridian Ordinance Number 15-1650 and Ordinance AZ 15-004 Hill Properties for annexation and rezone of a parcel of land being a portion of the north 1/2 of the northwest 1/4 of Section 33, Township 3 North, Range 1 East, Boise, Meridian, Ada County, Idaho, as described in Attachment A, and annexing certain lands and territories situated in Ada County, Idaho, and adjacent and contiguous to the corporate limits of the City of Meridian as requested by the City of Meridian. Establishing and determining the land use zoning classification of 43.2 acres of said lands from RUT to R8 Medium Density Residential District and 35.4 acres from RUT to CN Neighborhood Commercial Zoning District in the Meridian City Code. Providing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law. And providing for a summary of the ordinance and providing for a waiver of the reading rules and providing an effective date.
You've heard the ordinance read by title only. Anyone wish to hear it in its entirety? Seeing none.
Mr. President,
Mr.
I move
Byrd.
we approve ordinance number 15-1650 with suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the ordinance in item 10B. Roll call.
Thank you. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
Now, if we'd have the ordinance 15-1651 read by title only.
City of Meridian Ordinance Number 15-1651 and Ordinance RZ 15-007 Century Farm School for the rezone of a parcel of land situated in a portion of the southeast 1/4 of the northwest 1/4 of Section 33, Township 3 North, Range 1 East, Boise, Meridian, City of Meridian, Ada County, Idaho, establishing and determining the land use zoning classification of R8 Medium Density Residential Zoning District to CN Neighborhood Commercial Zoning District in the Meridian City Code. providing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law, and providing for a summary of the ordinance, and providing for a waiver of the reading rules, and providing an effective date.
It's read by title only. Don't see anybody raising their hand to hear it in its entirety.
Mr. President.
Mr. Byrd.
I move that we approve ordinance number 15-1651 with suspension of rules.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve item 10C. Roll call vote.
Thank you. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
Councilmember Roundtree.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Zaremba.
Aye.
And Bill, I apologize, I didn't follow the instructions I had, but I don't think we needed,
We'd already taken care of
we've taken care of it. All right, we're down to future meeting topics. I just have one item. I attended the news conference on the mosquito abatement exercise that's going on here in the next couple days, weather permitting, whether or not it actually impacts our community at all. The only portion of Meridian that will have the flyover is north of Shinden. So it'll be the spur wing west and the adult, the south bank of the Boise River. So the main part of town will not have the fog and the insecticide applied, if anybody asks. And I think that's, Frank, is that Thursday, weather permitting? Yes. That's all I had on that.
Mr. President.
I have a question for Robert. I have a letter here wanting somebody to attend some kind of event tomorrow. I'm not going to be available, so how critical is that?
Peggy thought it was, she brought it down. Do you know anything about it, Robert? I told her she could attend, but she didn't want to.
Welcome reception. Okay.
Unless somebody wants to attend.
Okay.
Mr. President.
David.
Just since August 4th, the first Tuesday in August is National Night Out. Somebody mentioned that earlier. I've probably asked this before, but is there a way to lock out the agenda so nothing gets on it for that day? I'm asking Madam Clerk that.
That's already on the
Yes, that has
calendar.
already been done, Councilmember
Already
Zaremba.
done? Good. Thank you.
Any other thoughts, questions?
Mr. President, you opened that wide open.
Yeah.
This Thursday is Art Sip.
That's right.
At Gwen and Brent's property, so if you need tickets or interested in going, community supporting the arts more and more. I've got tickets. I know Ms. Roundtree's got tickets, so hopefully anybody and everybody can go and have a good night, sipping wine on the lawn.
Come Thursday.
Come Thursday.
Come Thursday, yeah. 6 to 9?
6 to 9, correct.
Mr. Byrd.
Hearing no more, I move we adjourn. And we got out of here an hour and a half.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Go watch some baseball.
Go watch some baseball. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all right.
It's over.
Yeah.